I've been thinking a lot of that one company that I would see myself holding for the next 10 to 20 years, and that company is Microsoft. And I'm pretty much sure that everyone is aware of what Microsoft is, but just in case, it's a tech company that pretty much has several products. We're talking about Microsoft Word, Excel, Bing, uh, Xbox, the whole works, and it's actually right here. They have been doing very well in personal computing. When you think of a PC, actually think of a Windows computer, not necessarily a Mac. You know, of course, Mac is becoming more and more popular, but like Windows is typically the preferred operating system. Even for myself, although I own a Mac laptop, I also own a Windows laptop because I find it best as a data scientist to use Windows laptops. But this is the company, guys, that I believe will be pretty much a dominant company in the next 10 to 20 years because of its vast product offerings. It's not like an Nvidia or Apple, which focuses a lot on iPhones and laptop sales and so on. Like Microsoft is a more rounded and well diversified uh, company, and I'm very pleased um, with the company. So let's look at some insights, not insights, its financials. I typically look at its cash flow first, and when you actually look at the cash from operating activities, if we go back to the time period that we have available here from 2004, you see that we've had pretty much a steady increase in its cash from operating activities year by year overall. Like if we could even look at it quarterly. Of course, some quarters will go down over others, which is why I typically just focus on the full year so you can have a more better understanding or overall understanding of how it's been doing as the years go by. And this is pretty sweet, guys. Like that's a plus for um, any any company. I then usually look at the free cash flow because, of course, that's where dividends come from and funds to reinvest in the business. And this is not bad. It's been increasing, of course. Between what 2013 to uh, I would say 16, it wasn't doing great in terms of its increases, but this is still good, guys. Some companies are actually in the negatives, which is it's not a good sign for companies that are actually having free cash flows in the negative. So that's pretty good for Microsoft. This is free cash flow uh, excluding the stock-based compensation, and when we remove that, we're still seeing an increase year by year over this time period. This is what 2006 to 2023, and of course it went down here, but I still believe that it will be able to over time, as we've seen here. There may be more rough years than others, but over time I believe that this will continue to increase and the company will continue to expand and so on. So that's pretty much it for me whenever I'm looking at a company, as well as looking at the net um, income, which is something again is increasing, and typically it is increasing once we see the cash from operating activities increasing. So that's a pretty good sign, guys. Like we based on just the cash flow, we can draw some overall conclusions about the company. Showing good signs of like maintaining its business operations and so on. So like let's go to income statement. This is the second financial statement that is made public that I like to focus on as well. And when we go to the total revenue, we see that it's been just killing it from 2004, which is what we have available here, till 2013. And I believe, based on just the model and the diversified income source that Microsoft has, it will continue to increase as the years go by. The gross profit is also increasing steadily. Of course, we have a lower period right here, 2016, but generally speaking, it's been increasing. Let's look at its operating income. Yes, the operating income is also increasing, which is not bad. Yeah, we are seeing between 2013 to about 2016, it's been pretty much flatlined. But yeah, the overall pattern is it is increasing, which is very good for looking at a company that you intend to be an owner, you know, of that company. Let's look at its net income, and these are some of the key things I would look at. It's not bad. We're seeing it's a bit jagged right here, but of course, that's not the full picture, and it's still in the positive. It's still increasing over the long term, and like I said, this is a company that I can see myself owning for the next 10 to 20 years, or even longer. When we look at uh, diluted shares outstanding, this is good because they're doing a lot of share buybacks, which means that more value is being returned to those who are actually current stakeholders. So that's pretty good. You always want to see this going down over time. That's exceptional. And its EPS, which is earnings per share, ideally we'd want to see this increasing steadily over time. They've had a rough patch. What 2012 went up, then went down, went up, went up, went down, and continue going up. But when you look at this overall pattern, this is going up, and this is something that we should always focus on as potential business owners. When we're looking at a company, the overall pattern. All right, but if this was like consistently flat, right, or all of this was consistently flat, then suddenly 2019 is going up, that would be some cause for concern. And finally, when we look at its balance sheet, which is liabilities and assets, we can see here that its total assets is pretty good versus its total liabilities. You never typically want to see the reverse, because it would mean that, hey, the company is in a lot of debt, right? Its assets are increasing steadily over time as well, which is pretty good. Its liability naturally will also be increasing because it takes on debt to actually increase assets. But once a debt is nothing crazy, that's something that that's pretty good. So you can look at the shareholder equity, which is pretty much telling you, oh, is it acquiring assets faster than it's acquiring liability? And once it is in the positive and it's going up, that's saying it's actually acquiring assets faster than its liability. So it's not the reverse. So that's something good to focus on. And this is pretty much the final thing that I would have focused on in just looking at a company. And I'm telling you guys, this company is doing very well at the moment. Right now, if we look at the little verbiage right here that we get from Insights, it has grown its revenue at 11.51% over the past year, right? And strong growth, free cash flow of 29%, and of course it's saying that the company is very profitable. And there's one more thing actually that I typically look at is what are the insiders doing. So far we've been seeing a sell-off right now, despite it's not necessarily operating or being affected by the Nvidia craze right now. So I'm really not sure why so many persons are selling, but it's probably a sign, and not necessarily that, hey, they believe that it's currently overpriced right now. And yeah, if it's overpriced, if you believe it's overpriced, fine. But for me, I intend to hold this company for the long term, so I'm not into buying and selling like that. But when we look at like actual ownership as percentages, right, we're seeing that Vanguard, they've been buying BlackRock, they've been buying State Street Global, they've been buying Fidelity Management, they've been buying. And this is something that I always hold as a data person. There's this concept that when a group is making a decision versus an individual, it's likely that the group is always more correct. And that's how machine learning algorithms work as well. Like if you're using an individual data point, you're likely to be incorrect in making future decisions. But when you look at like a variety of persons or data points making a decision, then it tends to be more accurate that way. So I also pay attention to what the ownership is like, who owns it, and so on. And we're seeing that we're mainly having buys by these big companies. So that's something I typically focus. I almost never focus on what analysts are saying, because they're often wrong. They're often wrong, and that's just me. So yeah, guys, tell me what you think about this company. What's your number one company that you see yourself holding for the next 10 to 20 years?